In today's episode, we continue our modular D&D city with another version of the dollar store medieval house. So last time I put together one of these houses, and this is the other version of it. Now I've already trimmed off the gables on the roof and removed all the windows. And then I boarded up all of the openings just to kind of make it a little bit more flush and easier to attach things to. Now for this one, I want to do like some bricks around the bottom edge, and then one of these outcroppings is going to have a chimney come up and extend from the roof. Other than that, I think it's going to be pretty simple to put together. The brickwork is going to be the most tedious part, I think. So let's go ahead and grab our supplies and get started. So one of the first things I needed to do was actually remove this little framework around the door. And I'm going to do this on both sides. It's just going to really get in the way when I'm trying to insert the brickwork and attach things later on. Alright, once that was done, it was time to start adding in the brick layer. Now I'm going to use tacky glue for this. You can use hot glue, but just kind of any glue that's going to set and kind of hold the pieces in place quickly is going to be your best option. So I'm being a little haphazard with these, just kind of laying them in a somewhat random pattern, and I'm using some larger bricks as well to kind of fill space. I didn't want it to look, just completely repetitive with the same size bricks every time. Now the few gaps here, I'm just going to trim a couple of brick pieces in half to fill those. And I'm just doing this a quick little 3-stack high on the base layer. And then once that was reasonably dry, I add some tacky glue going up on all 4 corners. And then I'm going to do a kind of staggered brick pattern, going one full-size brick and then a half brick, then a full-size brick, then a half brick, all the way up to the roof section. And this is going to give the appearance that the bricks just kind of go up to the roof and kind of hold everything in place. Now, for the longer bricks, I do overhang them just a hair off the other side, just so that there's no little awkward gap and everything kind of lines up on the corner and gives a nice neat corner. Alright, and that's going to have to dry for a little bit. So while that's happening, let's go ahead and kind of place out our chimney. So I'm going to lay in a little bit of some tacky glue, and then using some full-sized bricks, I'm going to fill in this window. It's a little bit recessed, so the full-sized bricks will kind of match up with the half-sized bricks that I've cut down the center that I've been laying around the outside. And again, I'm just kind of going a little haphazard. Later on, I decided that this was going to actually be an underlayer, and then I put some more bricks on top of it to kind of make the chimney a little bit more exaggerated, but as I was laying these in, I hadn't really considered that, so I was putting them in as though this was the finished chimney. Alright, and then a little bit more tacky glue, and then I just kind of keep inserting bricks, raising it up to the roof line. Alright, while that was drying, I decided to add in some of the roof pieces. Now, using some of the same strips of roof tiles that I've made before, I just kind of pulled them apart a little bit to kind of give them a little bend, and that's going to make covering this one little kind of diamond-shaped, dome-shaped section of the roof a lot easier. And it's just a little bit of hot glue, and then put them on in a staggered fashion to creep up to the top of the arch here. Now, once these are all dry, I do take a utility knife and trim the edges of them just to kind of make the next step a little bit easier. And then I started putting in the regular roof tiles, and this is just going to be a fairly simple repetition of doing a measure, tear off extra section, glue in place, and it's just a staggered formation. And I'm just doing a couple little pieces over on the other side to kind of give the impression that the roof is full and continues on either side of the arch here. Now once it gets to the top, I take another strip and just kind of give it a little bit of a bend, crease down the center, just to kind of wrap around the top of the roof here. And then again, trim all the extras off the sides to kind of make it nice, neat, and flush. Now, our corners here need to be covered up, so I'm just taking a few single shingle pieces and giving them a bend down the center line. I use them to kind of create a nice little covering for all of the exposed areas of the roof. Now, I know in the previous house video I did the corners and the two short sides of the roof in wood planks. I wanted this to be a little bit different. Maybe it could be explained that this is a slightly higher class building, or maybe it was built later on in the city's construction when they had more resources available. You know, it's just kind of whatever you want to describe it as. Alright, so now that the roof is in place, we can go ahead and finish out our chimney. Like I said, I hadn't really planned on this, but after the roof was in, I decided, you know what, this really kind of needs to be a little bit more exaggerated, a little bit larger. So over all of these, I'm going to call them foundation bricks, I just started laying in a few more full-sized bricks to kind of accentuate the chimney and give it a little bit more volume. And again, I'm doing that same kind of haphazard random formation placement of all of the brick pieces, just to kind of give it the impression that it's not, you know, the same repetition of pieces in the same orientation every time. And if you do this for every building that you put together, it will be a little bit time consuming, but it'll give a very, very nice handmade look to everything. And I'm going to be honest, I kind of like that. So you can expect me to be doing this more and more as the videos in this series continue. Alright, so now I'm going to trim away a little bit of the roof section here, just so that I can kind of bring the rest of the chimney up and make it look as though it's coming out of the top of the roof. So once I got the upper section of the chimney started, I took another couple of bricks, trimmed one side at a little bit of an angle to match the roof, and then glued them in place. This will give the chimney a little bit of support once I get to this section, and it'll look really nice as though the chimney itself is fully part of the roof. Alright, now that that's dried, we're going to go ahead and start our painting. So because I'm using some craft foam for a lot of these pieces, I decided to seal everything in place with a 50-50 mix of black paint and Mod Podge. This is just going to help solidify all the bricks, make sure nothing comes off, and it's going to give them a nice little hardened surface so that they shouldn't have any damage, or the wear and tear from constant use on the game table isn't going to affect them that much. And then for the roof, just to kind of give it a little bit of a unified base layer, I did some unbleached titanium in just a single coat on all of the roof tiles. Alright, once that was dried, I did a overbrush of gray over all of the brickwork, just to kind of give it that nice kind of stone texture. I wanted these to look like they were kind of like just regular old hewn stones, not something fancy like brickwork or anything like that. And then once that was dry, I did a dry brush of some neutral gray just to kind of bring out some highlights. Now, it looks like I'm going pretty heavy here, and I kind of am, but the neutral gray will dry a lot more dim in color once everything is done. Now, I should have painted the roof before doing this dry brush, but, you know, live and learn kind of thing. The dry brushing would have been able to cover up any of the little paint spillovers from the roof onto the brickwork. And speaking of the roof, we're going to do a couple coats of deep green on all of the roof tiles. I ended up having to go 3 coats just to make sure that everything looked uniform and there wasn't any of the titanium color showing through. Alright, once that was done, we grabbed some light green, and this is going to be a dry brush just to kind of pick out the highlights of all of the edges of the tiles. And this also gives the option to kind of unify all of the color together, so that if you have some darker patches, they kind of get unified into a more consistent color. Alright, so now that that's done, let's go ahead and add our final details. So in a previous video, I promised that I would have a video showing how to make the little attachable doors and windows, and that video is coming. Some time just kind of got away from me this last week, but you can expect that video next week. So here I'm just kind of adding in a few windows on the front along with the door, and for the side pieces in the previous video I used some longer windows. Here I decided to go some double windows just to kind of add some variance. And then on the back side with the chimney, I decided for one long window. Again, just for a little bit of variance. I don't want all the houses to look exactly the same. And then once the windows and doors were attached, I mixed up some wall filler. This is some simple stucco. I used lightweight stucco mixed with some Mod Podge so that it kind of flows a little bit easier and dries a little bit faster. And then just to save time on painting, I added in some unbleached titanium, and that's what gives it this kind of nice plaster coloration. And then I stuffed it all into a little sandwich bag just to kind of give me some control over how to apply it. And then you can see here I'm using a toothpick to kind of spread it into any areas that I might have missed and kind of smooth out the surface so that everything looks nice and appropriate. Alright, and once this is done, everything is set. It just takes about a day for all the things to fully dry, and we are finished with episode 3. Alright, thank you everyone so much for your patience as this video was coming out. It was an interesting one to put together. I like how it looks a little bit different from the original one, and I'm definitely going to be doing a few more of these for my table. Alright, so thank you all for watching. Please hit that like button, subscribe for future content, comment in the comments section, and we will see everyone next episode.